Dr. Steffi here. I am coming to you on Friday, October, 16th, and wanted to talk today a little bit about social media. Dr. Ratliff gave a great segue into this last week when she was talking, so it is a good talk to have today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about social media and how it has its good points and its bad points. Just like a lot of things in life, it's not all black or all white. There's a lot of shades of gray in there. And I am a big believer that during this whole pandemic, we have had to change a lot of what we do. Some of those changes can actually benefit us in the end. And I do think there's a lot of things that we will come out of on the other side of this pandemic with new and creative ways to do things, and maybe some long-term solutions to some things that we might have been thinking about in the past, or that we hadn't even considered but now have learned new ways to do. So welcome to the talk. This is a huge topic, and I've started a blog post that has a bunch of different resources for parents. So tonight sometime I will finish that and post it, and hopefully you guys can use that to help moderate some of your family's media use. Because there are some good things. Almost all of our kids, at least in our communities, have either an iPad or a laptop or something now that they're doing school with. Whether they're still in virtual school or if they're doing a hybrid model or if they're all in school, most kids have at least been set up with that, so they have access to the internet. And even if you try to limit that, they're still going to be exposed when they're at school, even through their friends. If they have a friend with a cell phone, you see little kids all together, like clumped up looking at one screen. Even from the time they're young, they share their games, they share their pictures, they share all kinds of things. So even if you at your house lock down and don't allow a lot of this, your kids are going to get exposed. So we all as parents need to know what's out there with social media and recognize that our kids are going to find out about the new app first. So there's a lot of apps out there that I've never looked at. There's things called Wink that help you find people. To me, that is super creepy, and that could easily connect your kids to strangers. So the parents of kids need to know that these things are out there. And again, I'm going to put a lot of resources at the bottom or within a blog post, because there's just too much information for me to verbally share. But there's the good and the bad of social media. The good is, during the pandemic, especially when we were all locked down and afraid to leave our houses, even to go in our backyards, we needed to somehow stay socially connected. I know in my family, my parents live in St. Louis, we're in Kansas City, so I haven't seen them much in a long time. Used to be we would try to see each other at least once a month or so, but because of the lockdown, and my parents are of course older, they have higher risks, I don't want to bring them any germs. So we have stayed connected through not only phone calls now, but also Zoom calls. And that's interesting because we've never done that before really, and hopefully we will continue to do some of those a little more often, because they're a little bit better connection when you can see somebody's eyes, their face, and talk. So I want kids, teens, adults to stay socially connected. I've heard a lot of interesting ways that kids have stayed connected with their friends online. They're playing board games. They say they'll hang their phone up so they can see the deck of cards, and then they'll play just online that way. Of course, there are video games that kids can play with. A lot of kids love things like Minecraft, even like where they can get into each other's worlds and play. And so that can be good. It's a way for them to socially engage with peers when they can't physically get together. Of course, it leads for some of the bad, because unless you know who they're playing with, it can lead to child predators coming into their home, basically getting to know them, befriending them, giving them little gifts. And then kids feel like, oh, I know I wasn't supposed to do that, so now I can't tell a parent because they've given me these whatever things they give as rewards for whatever in the game. And kids get into this trap where they feel like they have to do whatever these child predators ask them to do, and it can become very scary very quickly. But still, I want to talk about the good first because there's a lot of good with social media. We can connect with people that we can't see regularly. We can find people that share our interests that maybe we wouldn't know. And this is where you do have to monitor your kids and what they're doing online. But there have actually been studies that show that girls in particular, because a lot of girls when they're on social media feel bad about themselves, they look at everybody else, their friends posting that look beautiful, they get all these likes and they feel inferior. But studies have shown that if girls follow 3 females that are well-known, respected people in an area that they're interested in, that actually can help boost their self-esteem. So like if when I was a child, I had social media, which of course I'm too old, I did not have, but if I were to follow some pediatricians because that was what I was interested in doing, then I could have learned a lot about what they're talking about and see how they engage, how they act professionally online and things like that. So whatever your kids are interested in, if they're interested in space, they should follow NASA and some astronauts. If they're interested in chemistry, they can follow some chemists. I think a lot of us have gotten interested in epidemiology lately. I know I have followed some epidemiologists that I never would have followed before, and I'm learning a lot from them. So following some positive accounts of some respected people in an area can be great. Now, a lot of parents don't want their kids following people they don't know because strangers, they don't want them interacting. So you do have to talk to kids about the difference of just following anybody versus following someone who has a public page and is professional on that page and not really interacting personally with them, but just learning from them. We can also build a profile, especially our teenagers, high school kids, if they're online, they're building their profile, whether they want to or not. It is going to stick with them. So if they're showing inappropriate dance moves or they are saying some nasty comments about others, that is sticking with them. That is part of their, what we call a footprint, a digital footprint. And that can be discovered later. So a lot of jobs will look at people's social profiles when they're thinking about hiring someone. A lot of colleges will look at that. It wasn't this summer, but I think last summer, some Ivy Leagues actually had admitted students to their program and then disadmitted or told them they couldn't come because they found some very inappropriate things on their social media pages. And so these are things that can very much affect us, but they can not always be bad. If kids are posting fun, silly pictures of themselves that are, appropriate for their age, or posting things that they're interested in, maybe they're learning a new skill, maybe they're volunteering in some community effort. If they post those kinds of things, that can reflect very positively on them because they can show this consistent pattern of who they are. And sometimes applicants look very similar on paper. They both look like they're good candidates. And if one has a very positive social media profile, and even if the other one just has nothing, the nothing might actually come to look bad on them because most kids in this age group have some sort of a social media presence. And if they have nothing, it kind of looks like they're trying to hide something, like they've wiped it all clean. So there is some evidence that shows that having a positive profile can be a good thing. For looking at college scholarships, jobs, college applications even. So I do think that talking with your kids about how to do that and building that social profile could be a good thing. We do have to be careful with all of this use. So I still think parents should moderate more when kids are younger, less as they get older. My general parenting style was I really watched my kids a lot, of course, when they were little, made sure they weren't getting hurt, taught them all kinds of things. And as they got older, I would let them make more of their own choices. The best choices I can get, and I won't say which one of my kids it was because I did not ask for permission with this one. Usually before I share things, I ask permission, but this is kind of an innocent thing. One of my kids spent the night with friends and they had a good time Friday night. All the friends hung together all day Saturday, and then Saturday night wanted to spend the night again. And I talked about, what kind of homework is there? What activities do you got going on tomorrow? How much sleep did you get? Do you feel like this is a good idea or not? And of course the kid's like all pumped up still with the friends and made the choice to spend the night, second night in a row. And I was pretty sure Sunday was going to be a rough day because I knew there was a lot of homework and kid was already starting to get tired. 2 nights in a row just make for more tiredness. It was a bad Sunday, staying up late, trying to get homework done. Um, but I did not rub it in the kid's face. It was just like, oh man, yeah, sometimes when I stay up late 2 nights in a row and don't get my homework done early and all this stuff, I kind of have a hard time too. And that's how kids learn. That child never made that same mistake again. They learn to make better choices. And one of the reasons I parent this way is because I remember as a kid, when I went off to college, some of the kids that I knew were wild and crazy and doing all kinds of irresponsible things. And I didn't want my kids to be that kid when they finally got freedom, because those kids usually had a lot of lockdown at home. So their parents didn't give them that little bit of excursion while they were still living under supervision to make the little mistakes and learn. And obviously I wouldn't do anything that would allow them to make some serious mistakes that would become lifelong damaging problems for them. But those little mistakes along the way. And with social media, you can do that as well. You can start by having accounts that you can really monitor. You have the login information, you follow closely. You can download some software that can help you with that. There are some really good ones like Bark. Will alert you if they even see like trends for certain things, like suicide. It has trigger words, and if kids have enough of that trigger type stuff, they will alert the parent to certain things. So you don't have to read every single post, but finding software like that can help you would be good. Then you can, as your child shows maturity, shows good decision making, shows appropriate behavior, do less and less active monitoring. It's kind of like driving a car. You don't give your 16-year-old the keys and say, okay, have at it. You make sure your teen will read the instruction book, study it, go take the written test. Then they get some driving hours behind the wheel once they pass the written test. Then they have to pass the driving test. And then you might let them take, a quick daytime trip in good weather to somewhere. And then longer trips, longer distances, maybe some night driving on their own, maybe some rainy, then snowy. You kind of gradually let them do more and more as they are learning to drive and showing you their skills. And of course, the kids that aren't showing you the skills have more supervision behind the wheel. Same thing with social media. As your kids show that they can make good choices, then you let them make more of their choices and you monitor less closely. We know that cars, using the same analogy with cars are dangerous. Before cars, we didn't have any car accidents. Nobody died in a car accident. That doesn't mean that we should take away cars to get rid of car accidents. We try to make cars safer, and along the way, cars have been made safer. Lots of things have been added to them to make them safer. We have car rules with driving that make them safer. So we need to make social media and everything on the internet safer. Because they're rather bad. Sometimes it's the innocent bad. People who do post positive things, they post what they love to do and they get lots of likes on it, and somebody else can have that fear of missing out. Well, oh, they have that, they get to do this and I don't get to do this. Or they get all those likes and my picture only got this many likes. Or they look beautiful in all their pictures. What they don't see is that kid took 12 pictures to get the one that looked okay. And they're probably still feeling like they're not really that perfectionist, or they're not that image. They feel like they're not as good as their image is reflected to others, because we always are the harshest judges on ourselves. So there's the whole fear of missing out, there's the I'm not good enough, and even the people that have really a lot of like popularity online, sometimes they feel insecure, like, well, that's not really me. They don't know the real me. They don't know how hard I'm trying to show this persona. So it can be hard to live up to that persona that they're having. So either side of that, I mean, there's a lot of social anxiety, that depression that can show from even positive posts. It's not just the negative cyberbullying and kids actually making negative comments on a post. But there are those too. Cyberbullying is a big issue that we have to watch with our kids, and in inappropriate exposures. It depends on the age of the child, but some video games that are appropriate for an older sibling might not be appropriate for a younger sibling because of the violence in there. And of course, there's different grades of violence. So depending on the age and maturity of your child, what they can handle, you need to watch for that kind of stuff. Pornography is a huge issue. Kids are exposed to pornography at younger and younger ages. Back when I was a kid, it was the magazine that was hidden in the back of the rack at the store and nobody saw it unless they were really trying. Now kids open an app and they can scroll through and find things that are very inappropriate for younger ages. So you have to be very careful. Inappropriate for older ages too. Unfortunately, some of our teens seek it out. Middle school is one of the harshest ages for pornography because they're looking for answers. They're afraid to ask parents or any kind of role model type person, because how am I going to ask about masturbation? How am I going to ask about this or that? But they can find it online. Unfortunately, what they're finding online is not always appropriate. So they're learning through pornography really bad relationship type things with abusive type issues, denigration towards women, things like that. So we have to open that conversation and have that with our kids, so they don't look towards bad places online to find answers, and you can help them find appropriate things that fit your family's model of relationship and sexual activities and behaviors and expectations. Let's see, predators, obviously, throughout history, people who abuse our children have been around. They tend to groom not only the child, but also the family. They will try to befriend the family. They offer to help out. Oh, I'll pick your kid up. It's okay. I know you're busy. They might offer the kid gifts. They oftentimes are friends of the family that are really close or family members. Historically, it was really hard sometimes for families to identify these people. Now it's a little different because our kids are being found online. They are being offered extra lives on a game or information about sex that, oh, you're afraid to ask your parent. Well, let me tell you, I can do this for you. But kids latch on to these people because they feel like this person hears them or is giving them what they think they need. And unfortunately, before they know it, they're in too deep and these people have something on them. They will have learned enough about their family to know that, oh, your little sister is this, I will hurt her if you tell anyone, or I will kill your dog, or whatever it is they tell your kids. These are really scary things, and they happen more often than we think. Parents today are so afraid to let their kids walk to school or even before the COVID, but be outside and play because they're afraid that they'll be abducted by some guy in a white van. But much more likely they're going to be in trouble from the thing in their pocket. This thing right here can be very dangerous if kids are online and meeting people that are trying to take advantage of them. So we as parents have to monitor that. Get to know what is available. TikTok is super popular and it can offer benefits. I mean, during the pandemic when kids were sitting at home and they weren't doing much, they could learn the new TikTok dances, so they were getting exercise. That is a positive. And there's a lot of negative on TikTok. I started an account just so I could kind of see what it was all about, and it was showing me video after video after video. It's very addicting because you just think, oh, it's just a 20-second little thing. I'll watch it. I'll flip down and watch it. And the psychology of it, they hire people to get people hooked, and you want to spend more and more time on it, and you lose track of time. The first time I was on it, I meant to do, just a few minutes on it, and I spent, I don't even know how long, far too long, watching these stupid videos most of the time that didn't really add value to my day, but some of them were funny, some of them were good, some of them were whatever. We just need to make sure that we have limits with our kids and help them moderate their screen time use. Most phones and devices will have where you can track your time online, so then you can see how they're doing and make sure that they are respecting appropriate times. One of the bad things with any screen is it tends to keep us awake. We're looking at a lighted surface, so our brains are tricked to think that it's daytime, so sleep deprivation can be a big issue. So you not only have to monitor what they're watching online or exposed to online, but also the times of day they're doing it. Stopping online use before bedtime, at least an hour or so, can help them get better sleep, because sleep is one of the big 3 things that we all need to do to stay healthy. And it's easy to not get off. I mean, we've all been there where we just think, oh, one more thing, one more thing. And so we can't expect our kids to do better than we do. Set a good example. Watch your own time on it. And if you need to set physical alarms, or some devices like Disney Circle will automatically shut off devices at your set times, and you can set times for different members of the family so that your older kids can have different times and apps available than younger kids. But we all have to just kind of watch what's going around. There are some, you can look at reviews of different sites, so you can, or apps to monitor your screen use and limit screen use. And you might need to do this every year or so, because your kids are going to get older, and the devices are going to change, the apps are going to change, there will be new ones made. So you have to keep on this, and parents are just going to have to do something that our parents didn't do for us, because these devices weren't around when we were younger. So we're learning. But just like with cars, in the old days there were no accidents, nobody died, and now cars are safer than ever, but there are still accidents, so we have to keep working on improving. So I think this is all I can say right now. I do not see any questions here, but I also don't know that I would on the screen that I'm on. So if you have questions, I have a separate computer here. I'm going to look real quick, because, you know, that's what we do when we have all these devices. It's not turning on. It's stopped. But I will tonight post a blog that will have all kinds of information with links of parent apps and things that you can do. Gotta log in because it logged me out. But if you have questions, certainly post later. Since I'm not seeing any questions here, I will reply in a little bit, and then we can answer anything that you have. And the blog post will have a lot of resources with different links in it. Probably too much information, but everything from specific apps that you can monitor to some really great websites like Common Sense Media that offer a lot of resources. So I will put all that in there, and I hope that, I'm not seeing my link here. No comments. So thank you guys very much, and I hope that you have a great weekend. Stay safe and interact with your kids. Turn your devices off so that you can be with them and really be with them. Thanks. Bye-bye. Won't you have? Don't you love devices? See, here I am.